Pearl and Amethyst warped back, with Ruby impatiently tapping her foot in front of the warp pad, as she was waiting for them. So, the red gem asked, her attention directly on Amethyst. No luck, Paradox nowhere, Amethyst responded. By hearing this, Ruby let out a frustrated sigh and stormed out of the house, leaving a burnt footprints on the icy floor and slamming the door. Pearl and Amethyst sighed and went into their rooms in defeat. It had been only a day since the lie was revealed that Garnet had unfused into Ruby and Sapphire, refusing to talk to Pearl or Spinel, only slightly interacting with Steven and Amethyst. As Sapphire remained on the couch, her ice powers was taking over the house. Ruby's fire powers created multiple burn spots around the floors and the ground when she roamed around. Steven kept himself curled up in his blanket on his bed, trying to fall asleep warm, shivering feverishly and sneezing a bit. Suddenly the door opened and a familiar pink gem walked in. Spinel? Steven ran towards the gem, leaping into her arms. Spinel caught him and she nuzzled him deeply into the gems in the chest. It's freezing in here. She won't listen to me. Spinel blinked in shock. Glowed at her gem. Hey, Sap, mind toning down the ice in here? Steven's freezing up, she asked rather harshly. Alice, because she got no response from the blue prophet. Steven continued to shiver, sniffing at the same snot. Of course, Spinel sighed. All right then, let's get warm in my room. They got inside Spinel's room, appearing it to be much more domestic type of bedroom than the other gems' rooms, and have given a calming kind of place to be in, with the walls painted pink, ranging from dark to pale and striped, and there was a desk at the corner, multiple books and horticulture and plants stacked with papers, with the flowers of the meanings that had laid on it. Steven loved the soft cushion of Spinel's rocking chair as she laid him down and summoned his coat to her upside-down gem. She picked up the gem him up again and put him on in his coat. After sitting down, Spinel hushed him to sleep, which she happily obliged in snuggling into her. She coiled her arms around him gently, laying her chin onto the couch as they constantly rocked. Thanks, Spinel, Steven then mumbled, nuzzling into his warm coat. No problem, love, she replied, kissing his head. After a few moments of silence, Steven looked up at her innocently. Spinel, I've been thinking on how we could fix this. Spinel flattered slightly, and she indeed just needed to fall asleep and keep her baby warm. But, oh well. What is it, sweetheart? I think we should have an intervention. An intervention? Yeah, where we gather around to talk to our problems and figure out how to solve it. Spinel's eyes widened a bit before her face calmed down and she stroked Steven's face. Oh, Stevie, that's a wonderful idea. But I don't think Ruby nor Sapphire would want to do it right now. But Spinel, Steven lowered his hand, Paradox on the loose, and you said it'd be better off if we worked all together to catch her. How are we going to catch Peridot without Garnet's guidance? I know I haven't been there to help with your problems all this time, but I want to help you, Pearl, Ruby, and Sapphire reconnect. Please, Spinel. I don't think I could take watching them stay angry at you or Pearl anymore. Light danced in the pink gem's eyes, hearing the boy's word, smiling and nuzzling his head. All right, love, I'll go find Pearl and talk to her. Where do you think we should set this up? In the living room at 6 o'clock, Steven then replied, nuzzling his head against hers, and I'll talk to Ruby and Sapphire. Good luck. Sapphire continued to sit on the couch, presumably still in a black mood. Steven wrapped up his coat and gloves, carefully approached her, and sat down right next to her. Still, it was still cold. Steven shivered from all his breath that was seen. Hey, Sap. Yes? Steven blinked. What? Sapphire didn't need to turn her head. We'll do the intervention, that's all. Feeling awkward, Steven nodded slowly. Cool, I'll go talk to Ruby then. Sapphire didn't respond as Steven went outside, following the slowly fading burnt footprints. The blue gem sat and let out an annoyed voice. Ruby placed around the beach, numerous footprints allowing her every step. She gritted her teeth, grumbling and growling to herself about Pearl and Spinel's lies. Taking off his coat, Steven then walked over to her. Hey, Ruby. The red gem glowed at him. How dare they lie to us? Lying so we could just fuse? Lying so that we could just worry about that? It's fusion. They know much about it and it means to us. Steven cowered a bit, but sighed. I know. Also, I was hoping you could come to the intervision with Sapphire and you could tell Pearl and Spinel about intervision? You mean? Surprisingly, Ruby stopped panicking and looked up at him. Yeah, and you could tell them exactly how you feel at 6 o'clock, Stephen explained. How does that sound? Ruby glanced down, thinking thoughtfully about the suggestion. Stephen then hit the table with a toy hammer. We'll come back here about the drama as it happens in the past 24 hours. On our left, Ruby and Sapphire. On the couch, Ruby had her arms crossed while tapping her foot impatiently. Sapphire was in the same spot, not moving a muscle. And to our right is Pearl and Spinel. Sitting in the kitchen in the seats on the counter were just the guilty gems. MFS stood beside them, apparently on their side. Now, Stephen spoke calmly, having the table stand perfectly between the living room and the kitchen. We will let Ruby or Sapphire state their options and feelings first. You two have the honor. Traitors! Ruby shouted as she began. You two have no idea how it feels to have about fusing and lying. We take fusing very seriously. To advantage us get so really messed up and lying to your own teammates that have known for centuries. What is wrong with the both of you? Everyone else remained silent, and the pale pink gem became more miserable. Ruby panted. Having finally let out her anger, she laid back on the non-frozen couch. And you, Sapphire? Stephen mumbled, lifting his head over the table. Sapphire sat up. I do agree with Ruby, but I will be less vulgar. Spinel, what you both have done is unexcusable. Pearl, fixing the hub and just to find the excuse to fuse us. We will not stand what Trick and Spinel. I applaud you for destroying the communication hub, but you've told us this earlier. Instead of leaving us, I know you care about Pearl, but you also need to consider your teammates' feelings as well. For the both of you, do you understand? Instantly and calmly, Pearl and Spinel nodded. Satisfied with their testimonies, Stephen turned to his attention to the guilty, and now we will hear their answers. Pearl first. Pearl rubbed her arms. If Garnet can hear me, I want her to hear me out. I know how much fusion means to both of you. That's why I wanted to be a part of that. Spinel stared at her, eyes widened. And our Sandrax I feel complete. In fact, when I fuse with anybody, I feel better that I can do anything. Spinel, even if it doesn't seem like that, I love being Peach Moonstone with you, and I love being Opal with you too, MFS. MFS blinked in surprise, but remained quiet as Spinel continued to stare at her longtime friend. I never wanted to take advantage of you, Sapphire. Ruby, I just want to be part of the relationship. It's perfect. Your perfect perfection of a healthy, loving relationship. I'm so sorry. Spinel placed her hand on the pink gem's back. Pearl. Stephen was touched by Pearl's short speech and looked over to the other gems. And Spinel sighed. I'm pretty sure you already know, but I'll say, I hate it when we break apart. I hate it when we don't work together. This is something that has been dangerous that is happening. I want to tell Garnet, but I swear, I didn't want to forgive Pearl, not at first, but I also wanted to keep it together. Homeworld trying to get back to Earth, and I didn't want us to be arguing over each other. I'm sorry, Sapphire. I'm sorry, Ruby. I'm sorry, Garnet. Stephen gripped his hammer, nearly crying from their voices. Spinel kept her hand wrapped around Pearl's side as Ruby and Sapphire continued to speak. Silence filled the room as everyone thought them to themselves after hearing each other's speeches. So what should we all say? Stephen gently asked. The four gems looked at another before standing up and walking over to each other and hugged each other. MFS walked over to Stephen's side. Wow, you did it good. They didn't hear the whispering from the four gems, but they seemed nodding as Pearl and Spinel pulled away. Ruby and Sapphire held hands and glowed. Of course, the moment Garnet reformed, stared at Pearl and Spinel. So do we promise to act as a team from now on? Pearl and Spinel nodded calmly. Stephen and Amethyst smiled softly. Hopefully the crystal gems will learn this from here on out to be more honest from now on. Warping to the galaxy warp, Peridot wobbled a bit, trying to keep struggling from protesting as Stephen in her grip before letting go and trapped him in the side of the tractor beam. Enough of this, Peridot grumbled, hovering over Stephen into the kitchen in the main pad. Stephen remained frozen. What do you want from me? I want to get out of this lazy, gem-forsaken planet, Peridot exclaimed, releasing the boy from the beam and then pointed at the warp pad. You have to fix this. Stephen sat up. Wait, what? Peridot became more paranoid. You're my last chance. I've got no flask robot nose. I've got no quartz soldiers. I've got no response from the yellow diamond. She breathed in and out to try to calm herself down. I know you fixed Lazu's gem. Whatever you did, you've got to do it to the world pad warp, or else. Peridot began to prepare an energy blaster. However, the warp pad not far behind activated as some sort of pink gem appeared. You! Spinel screamed, wasting no time, swinging her fist at the green gem, knocking her backwards. Peridot got up and scowled. You crystal clods just don't know when to quit. She then fired up the angry energy beam towards the gem, but swiftly dodged sideways, landing on the pillar and locking her legs into springs as she brained herself into Peridot and pinned herself to the ground. Spinel, wait! Stephen called out. The pink gem ignored him and continued to glow at her opponent. Oh, hold on. Peridot desperately needed to speak. You need me. Good excuse, Spinel now growled as she grabbed a hold of the gem on her forehead. Peridot began to struggle, begging, No, wait! I'm the only one who knows about this. But of course she was cut short when Spinel ripped her gemstone out, poofing her instantly, and Spinel glared at the gem before incasting into a pale pink bubble. Much to her surprise, Peridot's limbs and chanters laid out on the ground. She ran towards Stephen and rushed to him. Are you alright, sweetie? Did Peridot hurt you? Stephen pulled away. Yeah, I am. They heard the other gems arriving. Spinel, did you get Stephen? Pearl yelled before she saw her answer. Sir Spinel nodded, lifting the bubbled up gem. Yeah, it was Peridot. MFS looked in disgust and disembodied limbs. Ugh, you left the bits of her all over. She's, Stephen mumbled. She wanted me to fix the galaxy warp, the gems gasped. I knew it, deadpan Spinel said as she sent the gem to the temple. We are glad this is over, sighed Pearl. Let's get back home. Nodding, the gems all nodded and walked over to the warp pad. As Stephen held her hand, she looked up at Spinel. Was she trying to say something? I'm sure it wasn't important, murmured Spinel. Just some made-up lies just to try to let her own guard down. That's all that matters, and she bubbled, and I just can't harm anybody. Later that night, Spinel pressed on to the kitchen, ignoring the gem's conversation. She had tucked Stephen into bed a little while ago, and she figured that burning in the room again would be something. She stopped when she saw a familiar cracking green shape hovering over her way by Stephen, who was telling her to stop. Freedom is mine, Peridot declared, before turning her head and meet gaze with the stunned gems. Stephen quickly ran up to her. Wait! Look over there! Another planet to betray, Pearl stuttered, pointing up in the direction. The gems immediately got up and prepared their weapons, prompting Peridot to squeak out, Retreat! And then they tried to run out the front door, but Pearl and Garnet blocked their path. Oh, no you don't. Peridot made a leap and then ran towards the stairs on all fours to meet up with MFS, who simply grinned at her, jumping up and down from Stephen's room. Spinel's arms coiled tightly around the boy gem, and even the green gem, and then after a short spin, Spinel tossed her to the wall with the gem's rooms. She sped up and pinned on the smaller gem on the wall. This is the last time you're running away from us. Give up, Spinel yelled at her face. Peridot saw something on the pink's chest. Hey, what's that on your shirt? What? Of course, Spinel looked down, with Peridot flicking her nose, giggling. She escaped the gem's grasp and ran into the room, locking the door behind her. That little Spinel shouted, holding her nose furiously as she felt a simple trick. Peridot's voice was heard behind the door. You may have won this war, but the battle isn't over, crystal clods. As the gems walked out over to the door and dispelled their weapons, Pearl commented, We should tell her that's the bathroom? They heard Peridot talking inside. They couldn't exactly make out what she was saying, though. MFS tried to open the door. It's locked! Peridot, open the door, Garnet barked, banging on the door. But then they heard the toilet flush. If you're trying to flush yourself down the toilet, it's not gonna work, MFS said, leaning against the door. Trust me, I've tried. Spinel scrunched her nose at her. You're gross. How did she get out? Pearl questioned. We bubbled her. MFS shrugged. Maybe we just need a bigger bubble. Excuse me? We do not need a bigger bubble. Plus, my bubbles are just fine. Spinel retaliated. Stephen bit his lip nervously. I did. Stephen! The 4 gems shouted, shocked, with Pearl adding, Why would you do such a thing? Because she knows everything, Stephen anxiously explained. Something that made her scared. Amethyst pounded her fist on the palm. Duh! Homegirls know that we're gonna beat her into a green pancake. Stephen shook his head. No, not because of this. Because of something called the cluster. Cluster? That's new. Garnet crossed her arms. Spinel became more worried. What else did she tell you? Stephen lowered his chin. That's all I got. That's all right, you dirt bombs, Peridot shouted in the bathroom. You didn't even know what's coming. Of course, Garnet sighed. I'm tired of playing these games. If we can't fight her, then fine. We'll talk, Peridot. She then heard Peridot's yelp and sip on something. All right, no more fighting. Let's just have a civil, full conversation. As if I negotiate with you, filthy war machine. Garnet stepped back and summoned her gauntlets. Okay, let's kick her butt. Wait, Stephen protested. Yeah, destroy me again and have fun trying to talk to me while I'm in a bubble. Spinel glanced up back at the Pearl nervously. She's seriously not making fun of making us do this, is she? Pearl had held her hand to her chin. She leaves us no choice, Spinel. If she has the information, she's more vulnerable to us, and this is going to be tricky, said Garnet. When they heard the water running, Peridot started panicking. Hot! You have to turn the doorknob the other way for cold, Stephen told her. In the morning, Stephen then headed to the bathroom and saw Spinel already there, sitting cross-legged on the floor. Spinel? He tapped tilted his head to the side. What are you doing? Just talking to Peridot, she simply replied. She's the only been saying a few things to me, but she won't tell me about the cluster. Stephen awkwardly frowned. Well, did you at least scare her and poof her? I know. I did say sorry. Simply saying sorry isn't going to be enough for you, Pebble. Spinel rolled her eyes. You know you're just insulting me to get mad, and it's not working. Do you, need to go, Stephen? Stephen nodded. Peridot, can I come in? No! Both Stephen and Spinel groaned from Peridot's stubbornness. After a second of silence, the door just opened a crack. Spinel gently nudged Stephen. Go in and talk to her. She probably trusts you more than me. Nodding, Stephen walked in. Hey, Peridot sat back against the falling curtains. Is this ferocious Claude gone? You mean Spinel? Stephen asked before smiling. Yeah. She's only like that when I'm in danger. Other than that, Spinel's the sweetest, gentlest, down-to-earth gem you've ever known. Peridot raised a brow but didn't respond. Stephen glanced on the toothbrush on the ground. Can you pass me that? The green gem snatched it up. Is this a weapon? Only against cavities. Peridot stared at it before tossing it to him. Thanks, Stephen replied as he began to brush his teeth. Is that a weapon? She asked again, standing close to him at the giant comb. No, that's a comb I never use. Peridot just sat down on the toilet, her eyes narrowed. Is that a weapon? Stephen even knew that what she meant was the towel was cleaning the face with. Oh well, if you wanted to get wet and rolled it up, when it's exactly like that. Peridot flinched and put it down. Look, I know you're scared, but I'm not going to hurt you. Neither will Spinel or the others. And whatever's going on, whatever the cluster is, I want to help. Lowering her arm from her face, Peridot looked at him with glistening eyes. I doubt you'll help me. I appreciate the offer, though. Stephen smiled kindly. Now you mind moving? I need to use that. For what?